Greetings, everyone, and welcome to episode number 65 of the Dharma Junkie podcast. I am Justin, and I will be your guide through the metaphysical realms of this episode, in which my guest is Timothy Doyle. Now, something about this episode has really stuck with me since I recorded it, and I hope that it has the same effect on you, the listener, and I'm pretty sure that it will. You see, since 1972, Tim has been a student of the Golden Ones. Who are the Golden Ones, you ask? Well, Tim explains that the Golden Ones are the co-creator gods administrators of Earth's spiritual hierarchy training school. They are sanctioned by the Galactic Council. They teach aspects and processes of manifestation using conscious mind, subconscious mind, interactions with the universal mind, removing all fears, unhealthy thoughts of self and others immediately, and the tuning to the heart and mind of God. Their teachings greatly assist in the soul's ascension, and all souls coming to Earth are here to train to become a co-creator god. So, in this episode, join us as we discuss the Golden Ones, Kundalini, the training school of Earth, the seventh dimensional beings, the Arcturians, and the secret to life everlasting through Tantra. I hope everyone enjoys this episode as much as I enjoyed making it. So, without further ado, Tim Doyle.
You might catch yourself sliding in and out of a hallucinatory state. Just relax and enjoy it. Just relax and enjoy it.
This is an experiment in mind formation. Information. Forming, controlling, operating your mind and your brain. Using digital techniques to overload, scramble, confuse, unfocus your mind. The natural state of the brain is chaos. Chaos is beautiful.
So, Tim Doyle, how are you doing, man?
I'm doing fine, Justin, and you?
I am doing very well. I am, for the most part, okay. So it's 5 a.m. Where exactly are you located?
Fushan, China, northeast China, near the Korean border.
Okay. So how did you find yourself in China? What brought you there?
In 2012, my teachers joined me, the Golden Ones, and they started channeling information to me at 2:30 in the morning. I would go to my computer and just whatever came in my mind, I would just type it. I wrote 2 books in 2013, and then in 2014, they told me to go to China. So they've always guided me, so I just sold everything and moved to China. And I trust, Justin, when they tell me something, I just trust that everything will be okay, and it always is. I don't let the ego get in and say, well, what if this doesn't work? What if this doesn't work? And so forth.
Right.
I just blindly obey them. And it's like the wind wherever I go. And when I get there, I just respond to the people and so forth. So it always works out that someone will find me, talk to me, recommend that, oh, why don't you stay here? Or why don't you do this? Why don't you do that? And it just works out that way. So I've been in China since May of 2014. And then I wrote the 3rd book, I think it was 2019, on my experiences with the Golden Ones and what they taught me about life. So.
Okay. Could you tell me more about the Golden Ones? Because this is a term that I'm very familiar with.
Yeah. In 1983, I was in a meditation in the afternoon, about 3:30 in the afternoon. I came home from work and I closed my eyes, and all of a sudden, in my mind's eye, like I was watching television, this golden light beam appeared to me from head to toe. In my mind's eye, beautiful, radiating golden garment. He had a sash around his waist, and he reached up from his neck and took a necklace off his neck, and it floated between him and me. And he put this necklace on my body, etherically he did. And when he put it on my body just tingled, which I'm sure sometimes you get tingling sensations when something happens to you. And so that was in 1983. Then I didn't know who he was at the time or anything like that. Then I went on and trained to be a metaphysical minister, Reiki master, Kundalini yoga instructor. Okay. And then I was traveling in New Zealand in 2012, right before the end of the Mayan calendar. Mm-hmm. And I was in meditation, and a group of these beings said, we're going to join your meditation. And I just said, okay, it's not unusual for me to have visitations. So I just said, okay. And then that was in October of 2012. And then in February of 2013, I was alone in my upstate New York doing my yoga at 3:30 in the morning. Okay. And they started talking to me. And it's not unusual for me to talk in a meditated state with my teachers. I'll say something and then I'll listen to what they say and so forth. I'll have this ongoing conversations. And I think I've always done that, Justin, not knowing what I was doing, just being attuned to this frequency in my brain. Well, they did teach me in 1983 how to attune to the God frequency in your brain. But later on, in February, they woke me up at 2:30 in the morning and told me to go to the computer and write whatever I hear. So I went to the computer, and whatever I wrote, I heard in my brain. I just typed it. And then when I got to the end, it was probably about a page, maybe a page and a half. I got to the end and I said, how should I sign this? I didn't feel I could take credit for it. And they said, sign it, the golden ones. So that was the first time they told me who they were in communications. And so I always refer to them as the golden ones. Whenever I write anything, whatever they tell me to do something, I always give reference to the golden ones. So that's how it started in February of 2013.
That's fascinating. So what kind of information are you receiving from these golden ones? You said they taught you how to attune to the God frequency in the brain. I do recall you saying that. Could we talk about that a little bit?
Sure, we can. What they did is when I was setting to become a metaphysical minister, I think it was about 1983, 1984, they told me to start disciplining my thinking. And what I had to do is they told me to take a ring, put it on your finger, and anytime during the day when you notice a ring, stop yourself and ask yourself, what are you thinking? What are you feeling? And do this. And so we did this for 28 days. And at first it was like, okay, I found myself having judgmental thoughts about people or feeling something that wasn't divine. Let's put it that way. And so after a couple of weeks, I could start seeing thoughts and feelings coming to me that were not beneficial to my well-being, to my spiritual development. Mm-hmm. So I would automatically just discontinue those thoughts and feelings and wouldn't allow them to come into my mind. And so after 28 days, it's like riding a bike. I'm always listening and hearing if they want to tell me something or if I need guidance in something. For example, this morning, I didn't feel like waking up at 3:30. And so I said, do I have to wake up? They says, get up. So I didn't hear from you. So I figured, well, maybe, you were busy. And all right, I'll get up. I'll do my yoga. And so I went upstairs and came down around 4:30. And I says, well, I'll just do a little yoga and then I'll go back to bed. And then I saw your email and I says, okay, I know why I'm up now. And so they just guide me. Not all the time. It's like when it's something important, or if I ask them a question, they'll give me an answer. It could be like one morning I woke up at 2:00 in the morning, my eyes were bothering me. And I just blurted out, what can I do for my eyes? And they responded, urine. I go, urine? And they said, urine. So what a lot of eye drops have, I think it's cow urine in it, and like marine. And so I started taking drops of urine and putting it into my eyes for relief, and it does work. So they tell me things. That's how I attune to them. But the things they tell me are how the conscious and subconscious mind works in comparison to healing and how we manifest our realities based on how we vibrate. And if we're in a fear mode, then we don't vibrate as brilliantly as if we're in a divine mode. Right. So the conscious mind, I don't know if you want to go in this direction, Justin, or not. Yeah, I'm talking about the conscious mind. Excuse me. So the purpose of the conscious mind is to validate. Well, first of all, we come here to train to become co-creator gods. The Earth is a spiritual training school. So we come to Earth. Everyone comes to Earth who's incarnated into Earth is in training to become a co-creator God. So we need, the purpose is we're not God-like. We're created in the image and likeness of God, but we have to develop the characteristics of God through life's experiences. So in other words, God's characteristics are embedded in the light body, but they're in the physical body. They're raw emotions in the solar plexus. So through life experiences, we have to discipline these emotions through life experiences so that as they travel from the third chakra, the solar plexus, to the brain, to the mind, they go through nerve channels, and it takes a while to get there because there's so many paths an emotion can take to go from the solar plexus to the brain, so many nerve centers. It's got to find the right one. And sometimes in searching for the right one, it creates a frustration in the body, which the soul feels as a frustration. And when they react to the frustration, then it stops the journey of that raw emotion getting to the brain. So the body, the soul is always looking for truth in life to store into their light body. And so the purpose of the conscious mind is to validate what goes into the light body. So the conscious mind will validate 1 + 1 is 2. If that's a truth to the soul. If it's a truth to the soul, it will go into the subconscious. 1 + 1 = 5. It's not a truth. So that information would not go into the subconscious being. All right. So, but sometimes the soul would put something into his subconscious mind that he believes to be a truth. And that's where the soul has to, for example, let's take a fear. Fears, unhealthy feelings towards self and others is a truth to the soul's conscious mind, and he puts it into his light body, but he can take it off if he knows how to do that. And it's like taking a bad photo on your phone. You take a photo, you take 20 photos of different people, and you notice in reviewing the photos that one photo, the person has their eyes closed and so forth. So you just go on your phone and you delete their picture. It could be on your phone for 20 years. You just notice it, you go in and you delete it automatically. Well, the same thing with these unhealthy feelings, fears, and so forth. Very simply, you can go into your solar plexus, your light body, and remove these. I was doing the ayahuasca in Peru in 2004. And are you familiar with the ayahuasca, Justin?
I am very familiar with what it is and the effects of it. I have not personally partaken in an ayahuasca ceremony yet. And I stress yet because I do fully intend to. I just have not had the opportunity to as of yet.
Okay, good. So during the ceremony, the first part of the ceremony, you go through, I don't know, I call it a cleansing, because you review things in your life and you go places and you don't know, you go and you go and come back. And then after that, the second half of it, you get visions. Well, they gave me a vision in 2004 of a light body. And the light body the vision they gave me was golden strands of light in the form of a body. And on these strands, filaments, golden filament strands of light, there were globs on it like glue. And there might have been, on a whole body, there might have been 30 or 40 of them just scattered throughout the body. So I really didn't know at that time what it was, except I knew that they were globs. Didn't quite know if they were what they were, but it prevented the light body from vibrating or resonating at a higher frequency.
Okay.
So I was in Australia, 2012, and Thoth came through, and he gave this little technique how to remove these fears from the light body. And it's very simple. It only takes 15 seconds. Okay. What you do is you put your left hand on your solar plex, your right hand on your heart, and you have to activate the fear. These globs on your light body are fears, unhealthy feelings, whatever. So to remove these globs, you put your left hand on your solar plex, third chakra, right hand on your heart. You have to activate the fear you want to remove. If you have a fear of water or heights, you have to think about being afraid. You have to bring that fear to the surface. And then all you say, once you feel the fear, all you say is, this feeling is not mine. This feeling does not belong to me. I release this feeling in love now and forever. Amen. Instantaneously, that feeling is gone off your light body. Instantaneously. Then you go and you search and you say, okay, you try to find that fear again to recall it. You can't find it. So I've done this with people all over the world. I say all over, about 3,000 people from all over the world with much success. Some people won't do it. And the reason why they don't do it, they feel that fear is good. Now, when this was given to me back in 2012, and I related it to my ayahuasca experience about why it works and so forth, I brought it home to me from Australia, and I started working with it in my meditations. And I found myself like being more conscious of my feelings and so forth. And I started using this prayer. As soon as I get irritated about something, I thought, well, why is this irritating me? I would remove the irritation from my light body, because being a God being, we should never be irritated by anything in life. So any unhealthy feeling or thought, I would immediately use this prayer to remove it from my light body or from my consciousness. So when I was home, I was visited by the Arcturians. Arcturians are seventh dimension beings. They didn't visit me physically. I was in meditation. They came to me and they told me that these fears and unhealthy feelings are actually parasites. And what they do is they're like an orgasm. They infiltrate your thinking and your brain. And so they'll influence your thinking as if it's you thinking. So when you have a fear, it's actually the parasite acting out its role as being a fear, let's say a fear of water. It takes over the body and it puts the body through a fear emotion. And the person or the soul believes that this fear is part of them, when all that it is, it's the activation of the parasite. So the parasite does not want to leave the body. It feels their purpose is to live. And so they want to live. So when they know that you're going to take this parasite off their body and remove it, they'll go into a fear mode, and they'll start influence your thinking like, oh, this isn't really bothering you. It doesn't show up that much. You're not going to be afraid of the water. Get over it. You can't believe that this person really knows what they're talking about. So it starts interjecting contrary thoughts into the soul's brain so that the soul does not want to remove any fears, any unhealthy feelings towards self and others. And so you really have to be careful and conscious of this when dealing and attempting to clean your light body.
Okay. So what exactly do these parasites feed on? Is it just energy, or is it the fear itself?
Well, it's the energy. When they get activated, they're dormant. They're dormant in your subconscious, and they're happy just to be there. What activates them to be a fear is if someone says, let's all go swimming, and then they'll kick in and say, they'll play their role. They'll say, okay, I'm on stage now. Let me play out. Let me play my role, and let me manipulate this soul into thinking that this is him, and we're not going to go swimming today because it's a fear.
Right. I had a question. We're talking a lot about fear, and we're talking a lot about what appears to me or sounds to me like a lot of root chakra issues. Like working from a place of say a scarcity mindset rather than a mindset of abundance.
Well, it's not the soul's intention. All right. Now think about Earth as a spiritual training school. So the soul comes in here, and before the soul comes to Earth, they do not have a conscious mind. They operate out of the heart of God. They're connected to the heart of God. So they're guided by the love and of God and what they're doing. Now they come, because of their love for God and their oneness of creation, they come to Earth to train to become a co-creator God. So in any training school, you have to be tested. So how do you get tested? You test whether we would never think of God as having an ego where he just does anything for himself. So the ego portion of the soul, which is the raw characteristics in the solar plexus, need to be disciplined and transition to God feelings. So through life experiences, we have, let's say there is Archangel Lucifer is part of this training program, and it's his role to tempt the soul. So that, how do you know whether you really, really have overcome anything and disciplined yourself unless you have the temptation to know that you really have overcome a raw emotional aspect of God. For example, we would never kill anybody now. Most people, I would say, on this planet, wouldn't even think about killing anybody. Because we have learned through life experiences that when we kill someone, and we're killed, how it feels to kill and how it feels to be killed. So we learn through life experiences to overcome that aspect of being aggressive in that mind state to do anything harmful to another. So this happens through all types of emotions, whether it's sexual, power, authority, greed, all aspects. When the soul first comes here, they have to learn to survive. They're not aware that their conscious mind, they didn't think before. So now they're in a conscious mind and they're thinking to survive. They're by themselves. They don't have any soul basis to believe in anything. The only thing they believe in is self. So they feel when they first come here, they have to do everything. They have to survive. They have to steal. They may have to rob. They're only thinking about self and the survival of self. And it's through reincarnation and karma that the soul learns to discipline themselves and to learn from their life's experiences. So it is from a basis of fear, which is the ego, and surviving for their self initially. And hopefully the soul through life's experiences overcomes this.
It's fascinating. I was reading on your site, and you mentioned I came across the term the Golden Age. Well, what do you define as Golden Age?
Well, what happened is the teachings of the Golden Ones last were taught around 10,000 years ago, maybe more, with the sinking of Atlantis. Earth at that time, when Atlantis sunk, Earth went into a third dimension reality. During the third dimension reality, the vibration for the planet was too low for the Golden Ones to stay on Earth, to be in this training school. And so the Dark Ones, if we're going to distinguish between good and evil, the light and dark, the Dark Ones were in control of the planet, and which is a characteristics of the ego processing, stealing, corruption, greed, power, abuse of others, taking advantage of others, and so forth. So that's sort of the third dimension consciousness. Then what happens is at the end of the Mayan calendar in 21 December 2012, not Earth, but the solar system completed its journey around the galactic center, a distance of 25,920 years. And so at that point in time, Earth came back into a fifth dimension reality. Okay. Well, a fifth dimension reality is a higher consciousness for all souls on Earth to transition into. That allowed the Golden Ones to return in 2012 when Earth came back to a higher dimensional frequency because it was more compatible to the vibration. So at the start of 21 December 2012, when Earth came into the fifth dimension reality, it started the Golden Age for souls on Earth. The Golden Age on Earth that we're in now is where souls no longer need to go through the birth, death, rebirth cycle. If they discipline themselves and come in harmony, balance, order, and unity with the laws of nature and the will of our Father, Mother, Goddess of creation, to work together. Now, what the soul has to do is you have to take care of your body. You have to clean your light body. And then you have to, what I call it the Ascension Program, which is on the website, a free tool on the website, www.thepathtowoneness.com. It's called the Ascension Program. And that's what my teachers taught me back in 1983, how to attune to the God frequency in the mind, where you're always in communications with them and they're in communications with you. They're always in communications with us, but we're never aware of it. We don't hear them because we haven't attuned to that frequency. We're listening to one station in our mind and they're broadcasting on another station. So it's just a matter of attuning to that frequency in your mind.
And how does one go about attuning to that frequency? How do we get more in tune with that frequency? I mean, say
What?
you say you have you've been maybe receiving messages from these gods, these golden ones, and you don't realize what it is. I know several people that receive messages, for lack of a better term, and it's kind of driving them crazy, if we're being honest. And I was just curious as to how they can become more accepting of the experience that they're having, and how, say somebody that doesn't receive these messages or doesn't realize that they're receiving these messages, attune themselves to be better suited to be receptive. Well,
Most people don't understand their purpose in life. They come here and they're not aware that their purpose is to train to become co-creator gods. They don't realize that there's universal laws and principles that they have to abide by. And if you don't know your purpose in life, then you're sort of like just wandering through, doing a job, being compatible with people, earning a living, paying your taxes, and dying, seeing the people around you dying. So you just assume that you're going to die because everybody dies. And that's just part of your life. But if you understand what the purpose of life is, to become a co-creator God, then you put more discipline in what you're consciously doing every day and in every moment. It's just not what you do every day. It's what you do in every moment.
Right.
I don't know who it says, but opportunity happens in a flash. Every moment is an opportunity. Every moment's an opportunity. So it's like being aware of your opportunity, disciplining what they taught me back in 83, disciplining my thoughts, become aware of my feelings. What am I thinking about? And when I come across something that is ungodlike, just remove it off your light body. This feeling is not mine. This feeling does not belong to me. I release this feeling in love and now and forever. Amen. And once you take it off your light body, it doesn't come back unless you put it back on again. But most likely you're not going to put it back on again because you're aware of who you are now and your purpose in life.
Right on. Yeah, for sure. I think it definitely helps to know your purpose in life. And I think that once you I think it takes slowing down. You know, you spoke of opportunity, and a lot of opportunities are missed in the hustle and bustle of the way that society has been constructed around us, so that we're not really able to slow down enough to tune in to ourselves to be able to recognize those opportunities.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And staying out of fear.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing, is just operating from that mindset of fear. Yeah, so many secondary emotions stem from just fear, you know, anger, frustration. fear, fear itself.
Well, see, the conscious mind can only hold one thought at a time. You can't think about eating breakfast and training your dog. It's like you either think about eating breakfast or you think about training your dog. So you only have one thought at a time in your conscious mind, because the conscious mind's purpose is to gather truth. So if your mind is in a fear mode, then you can't be thinking about gathering love or having love or being compatible or controlling anything or what your purpose is and so forth if you're in a fear mode. And that is the purpose of the dark side, part of your training is to keep you in a fear mode, because they know that if you're in a fear mode, you're not being spiritually developed. You can't spiritually develop. So part of the training school is to overcome the fear mode for the light workers, and for the dark workers, it's to keep everybody in a fear mode, whether it's a virus, whether it's a war, whether it's a famine, whether it's an asteroid going to hit Earth. They can create a fear out of almost anything that will affect some portion of the population, to keep that portion of the population from developing spiritually. That's their purpose.
Yeah, and it's pretty evident that that's going on. I mean, all you have to do is turn on the television or turn on the computer, and there it is. It's fear, 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 fear.
Exactly.
Yeah, it seems to be the name of the game these days. Which is, and it's funny that you mentioned that, because you say that you can't really spiritually develop if you're operating from a place of fear. And that's absolutely true. And everybody that I know that is really, really focused on a spiritual path is mostly fear-free. As far, going through this pandemic, like the people that I know that are more in tune with their spirituality have weathered it far better than those that I know that are not.
You can't develop spiritually if you're in a fear mode. You don't vibrate. And the thing is, Justin, is once you start vibrating, you get whatever you want in life. The universe will support you. I always get what I want. If I want something, it could be just a simple thing, a pencil with 2 erasers on it. I'll find it. It'll come to me. I'll tell the universe I need it for my classes, and it will show up. So I always get what I want, which reinforces me to really think, do I really want this? Do I really need this? To make sure that I'm focused in on what I'm asking for and why I want it and so forth. Another thing I want to touch on it, and it keeps flitting by me, but I can't think of it right now. A point I want to bring out about something, and when I speak, it goes by, it goes by, it goes by. They'll tell me what it is.
I'm sure we'll get back to it.
I'm sure we will.
I did have a question. So meditation. How long have you had a meditation practice? Obviously, you said that the Golden Ones came to you in 1983, right? That's when you first encountered receiving the messages from them. I'm assuming that at that point you already had a dedicated meditation practice, and that I'm sure you maintain one still. Could you tell me a little bit about what that looks like for you?
Well, it was 1971. Maybe it was March of 72. I had a psychic reading by my former metaphysical teacher, spiritual teacher, and she read me for an hour. She read me from head to toe, told me about my family, my work, my love life, my wife, my children, and I was just awed by what she told me. And she says, all right, time's up. I'll give you one more question that you can ask, and it can be any question. And I says, how do you do what you're doing? And she says, meditate. She says, if you want to know everything, meditate. So I went home that day and I started to meditate. And I've always had my teachers. I've always been connected to my teachers. And they tell me never do anything that someone else is doing, because you'll only go as far as they go. Don't follow anyone. Do it on your own. So I started meditating on my own. And when I first started meditating on my own, there was a lot of negative thoughts in my mind and a lot of negative sensual visions and so forth that I had to clear my mind. But after about a week or so, 2 weeks, I started seeing colors. And that lasted for a little while. And I thought, wow, this is kind of interesting, seeing colors. And beautiful colors, too. Colors that you don't see on Earth. Purples and greens and blues. Those were the main three colors I would see. And after a while, after maybe about 3 weeks of that, I started having sensual feelings in my second chakra. Now, Justin, at the time, I didn't know what chakras were. I didn't know chakras. I didn't know Kundalini. I didn't know any terms, spiritual terms. All I was doing is just sitting down and meditating. So then I started feeling sensual feelings in my second chakra. And I'm sitting there in meditation, and I'm thinking, well, I'm not thinking anything sensual or sexual. Why am I having these feelings?
Right.
Well, they lasted for maybe a couple of weeks. And then I started feeling a pulsation in my third chakra, my solar plexus. It would be like right below my heart, at the top of the rib cage. At the bottom of the rib cage, there was a pulsation in my solar plexus. And I thought at first, am I having a heart attack? What's going on? I got this pulsation here and so forth. And this lasted for a little while, maybe about 3 weeks. Then all of a sudden, maybe about a month later, after meditating for about maybe about 2 months, I'm sitting in meditation, and there's this pulsation in my third chakra. I start feeling an energy. Now, when I meditate, I always say the prayer of protection.
Okay.
The prayer of protection tells me that whatever happens to me during my meditation, it's by divine will. So I'm not afraid of anything. I don't fear anything that happens to me during my meditation. I just know that it comes from God. So I'm sitting there with this pulsation in my third chakra. I start feeling an energy coming into my left palm, and it's moving up my arm. So I'm aware of this energy coming up my arm, pulsation in my third chakra. Then all of a sudden, I start hearing this like a train or a hurricane noise in my right ear. And as this energy started coming up to the cavity of the body, I started taking on this rhythmic breathing, like I couldn't control my breath. My body just took over, and this breathing came in automatically. Now I'm sitting there watching all this. I got this pulsation in my solar plexus. I got this energy moving into the cavity of my body. I got this train whistle in my ear. I take on this rhythmic breathing. Then all of a sudden, when the energy hit the cavity of the body, there was a brilliant light in my mind's eye that was like white phosphorus. It was so brilliantly white and bright. My eyes are closed anyways, and I'm trying to close my eyes even more to get away from this light. It was so brilliant, and I couldn't get rid of this light. And it lasted for about, well, what happened? I don't know how long it lasted. I know I tried to get rid of it, and I couldn't get rid of it. I started to spiral out of my body. And I didn't know. I at the time was living on the Chesapeake Bay. And I spiraled out, and I was over the Chesapeake Bay. Didn't know where I was going. And I just put out a thought to my loved ones. I said, please return me to my body. And immediately I started to de-spiral back into my body. And I stop the meditation for that evening. And what I have learned is what I did was I raised the Kundalini. It was the Kundalini energy in the root chakra of the body that comes up. Now, I've talked to, there's not too many people that raise the Kundalini. When I took and studied Kundalini yoga based on my experience of raising the Kundalini, I figured, well, I used to be a runner. I'm not a runner anymore. I don't have the space to run. So I'll take yoga up and I'll do Kundalini yoga. Well, when I took the class in Hawaii, 28-day class, and I talked to the teachers there, people concentrate on raising the Kundalini. Well, that's not how you raise the Kundalini. You don't raise the Kundalini by concentrating on the Kundalini. The Kundalini is a force, an energy force to support the soul in their love for God. That's the purpose of the Kundalini. So I remember specifically when I would go into meditation, my entire purpose was for the love of God. I wanted to be the best soul on earth ever in support of God. I wanted to be that servant to support him 100% with my whole heart, soul, mind, and body. And that was my pretense in meditating. And I firmly believe that is why I raised the Kundalini so quickly, because that was my purpose, is for the love of God. So after I raised the Kundalini, I would continue my meditations, and they would take on a different aspect. Then I started to receive visitations from beings. I remember that one night in my sleep state, 3 12-foot beings came into my dream state, and no faces. They were dressed like monk clothing.
Okay.
And the one in the middle, using thoughts, said, "We're going to teach you the purpose of thought." I said, okay. I mean, I agreed to it in my dream state. And so we all flew someplace, like in Peter Pan, how Peter Pan and the kids flew in the air. And we went to a wine cellar. And the one being in the middle, 12-foot being, he started speaking. He says he was using his thoughts, and he directed his thoughts to me. And he says, "We are going to teach you about the purpose of thoughts." He said, and then the other 2 monks were at the other end of the wine cellar. He says, "I'm going to have them move with my thoughts, move a wine cask from the second shelf to the middle shelf." And he says, "Watch." And so as we all looked down at the end of the wine cellar, these 2 monks raised the wine cask from the bottom shelf to the middle shelf. Then he turned to me, and I didn't hear his thoughts telling him to do this. He directed his thoughts to me, and he says, "That is the purpose of thought." And I says, okay. And so I remember waking up the next morning and going to church and trying to use my thoughts for people to scratch their head or to rub their nose and direct my attention to them to somehow take what I experienced in my dream state to see if it worked. But then what happened from that is I finished my ordination with metaphysical, being a metaphysical minister, and I started teaching meditation classes. And so I taught meditation classes for over 20 years, teaching people how to get in tune with their spiritual teachers and to understand that thoughts are originated first as a feeling. You need to have a feeling before the thought. And if you're going to manifest anything, you need to come up with a feeling first on what it is you want to manifest. And once you come up with the feeling, then you can put your energy into it to make that feeling develop into your manifestations. That's how you get what you want. Put your feelings in it first.
Yeah. It's funny when you were telling me the story of them moving the cask from the bottom shelf to the middle shelf, I immediately clicked for me. It was like, that's the purpose of thought, is manifestation. I don't know why, but that just immediately was like, yeah, it's glaringly obvious for me. But I guess a lot of people would overlook that, or could overlook that. That's fascinating though, man. It seems like, and okay, well, you were talking about when you first started, but how long were you meditating when you first started? Like in 70, you said there was like 71 or maybe March of 72. How long were your meditation sessions at that time? Were you doing extended meditation sessions, or were you just sitting for, you had to have been doing it for, I'm just assuming from your description of it, you said you saw colors and such. And I know at least in Buddhist circles, that's referred to as the nimitta, which is it's part of one of the jhana stages. And generally you have to sit for, an extended period of time to get into that consciousness to be able to attain that.
No, actually,
that's why I say, your case may be different, and it seems that it is. If you were able to tap into Kundalini energy as easily as you were, so your experience may be different than others that I've spoken to. But
when I first started to meditate, it was like I told you, I had these terrible thoughts, and I was told to endure it. There were negative thoughts, negative visions in your mind's eye. And that lasted maybe about 3 or 4 days. And then they disappeared. And then my meditation time, at first I was thinking, okay, I should be here like at least 10 or 15 minutes. And then I would try to stay 10, 15 minutes. And then all of a sudden, there was no time. I would sit there and it would be like I was there 45 minutes. And Justin, it seemed like I was there for just 5 minutes. I didn't realize I was there for 45 minutes. So I just stayed in meditation just long enough where I felt comfortable that I was there. And if I got colors, if the colors went away, I would stop my meditation. And I wouldn't be more than maybe a half an hour or something like that. Not more. I wouldn't think more than a half an hour, maybe 45 minutes. But basically that was all the time I would spend. Just enough time to tap in, get a good feeling, review my day, and see if I did anything I shouldn't have done and so forth, and then just be grateful for what I had.
Right. Yeah, I feel that. I too have had similar experiences where time just kind of stops for me in meditation. Is I can, once I'm deeply immersed in that meditative state, I've had, an hour pass by and it feel like, like you said, like 5 minutes. It's like, whoa.
Exactly.
I've actually missed a podcast before because of that. I was late by about 30 minutes. It's like, oh man, where did time go? But okay, so you're talking about the Earth as a training school for co-creator gods, and learning these trainings in order to break the cycle of rebirth, or birth, death, and rebirth. Correct? That's very similar to like the Buddhist wheel of life and the 12 links of dependent origination, and breaking the chain, the links of the dependent origination to get off the wheel of samsara.
Okay. See, I don't study anything else.
Okay. Well, yeah, no, very similar. You should check that out. Very similar to what you're saying. And, these are teachings that are 2,500 years old. So there's got to be something to it, right?
Well, there is. It was kind of funny because I do play and link it with some of the yogis, and they talk about the Kundalini, and they think, or they teach, that you have to abstain from sexual relationships or sexual energies to raise the Kundalini. And that's not true at all.
Oh, well, thank God.
I know. And I mentioned something, and the yogi, and I won't mention his name, but he says, of course, you have to abstain from sexual relationship. And that's not true at all, because that's just, your body is just part of life. Now, we could talk about Tantra. I am a Tantra master, and not only in what the energy does for the body, but also living that relationship in your life experiences. For Tantra, only a portion of it relates to controlling, is that a good word? No, channeling your sexual energy up your spine. And that's part of, Justin, I don't know how much to tell you or not. I don't mean it not for you, but for your audience. I'll only do the R-rated and not the X-rated part.
This is an X-rated podcast for sure. My audience is a bunch of weirdos.
Okay. Well, all right. I'll share everything with you then. All right. So when I started out being introduced into Tantra and controlling the channeling of the semen up the spine, when you channel the semen up the spine, that life force nourishes the vital organs of the body to the brain. All right. So what you're doing is you take, instead of releasing that out in for, I don't know how long it lasts, 10 seconds, that feeling, you take that energy and you can have a better feeling energy by channeling that energy up your spine, nourishing your vital organs. All right. To master channeling the energy up my spine, I had to learn to relax the genitals.
Okay.
All right. To the point where they're instead of the scrotums being tight, you have to learn to relax them, because there's a pump in the scrotums. And if the scrotums are tight, then the semen will come out as an ejaculation. Okay. If you're relaxed, then the semen will go up the spine. So you have to sit there and practice it. And I'm not ashamed to say that it took me probably about 2 years to master that, because you've got to, you go too far, you lose the semen. Right. It goes out as an ejaculation. So you sit there and you really have to attune to when to relax and what to do, how to hold, how to breathe, how to your stomach muscles and so forth. So, but that part of it is only the sexual aspect of it. We're in a God-goddess relationship with everybody on earth. We treat everyone as a god. We treat everyone as a goddess. Most women would never consider themselves a goddess, all right? And whether they consider themselves a goddess or not, it's the male's responsibility as a god to treat every woman as a goddess. Now, this is extremely important in your relationship with your classmates here on earth, is to treat every person as a god, every woman as a goddess. Now, part of the longevity we're talking about the golden age. You have to keep your body. You have to keep your body in an alkaline environment. Diseases in the body can only survive in an acidic environment. So if you can get pH strips to monitor your alkalinity level in your body, and if you get a cold or a fever or anything like that, it's an indication that your alkalinity is below approximately the 7.4 level.
Okay.
You can raise your alkalinity very quickly with a combination of baking soda and lemon juice. 1/2 squeezed lemon, 1 teaspoon of baking soda, and a glass of water. That will raise your alkalinity immediately throughout the body. There's a couple of times while in China here where I woke up one night where I couldn't breathe. I had a fever. I was sweating. My throat was tight, and I was having trouble breathing. And my wife said, "Should I take you to the hospital?" I said, "No, get me a glass of lemon juice and baking soda." After drinking that, within 5 minutes, I was fine.
Wow. That's awesome, Tim.
Think about that. That is very true. I have something on the website called Keeping Your Body Pure or Cure from All Diseases. And it goes in about pH strips and the acidic environment in the body. But that's the number one thing you have to do is you have to have a healthy body. Then you have to clean your light body. And we talked about removing all negative thoughts and feelings off your light body, getting those globs off. And then the third thing you need to do is attune to the frequency of the God frequency in your mind. And that's just 28 days. It's a short time to discipline yourself and to do that discipline so that you're always in tune with the mind of God. And this is the point I wanted to point out previously that flipped by me, is that everything that happens to you in your life is created by the universal mind. Universal mind is aware that this is a training program and that all souls are in training, and they know what lessons you've learned. They know what karma you created. They know which the next lesson is. So they generate your training plan every day. Your life experiences are generated by universal mind. Now, nothing can happen to you unless you have created that karma. So if someone steals something from you, you just have to say, well, obviously I must have stolen something from someone else at a previous time. I don't remember.
Right.
So you don't go to hate and animosity or that's a terrible person. You need to go to forgiveness, not for the person that just stole from you, but forgiveness for what you have done in the past. The law is the sins that you shall forgive, they are forgiven. The sins you shall retain, they are retained. They're talking about your sins. If you forgive others, then your sins will be forgiven. If you can't forgive another, then your sins cannot be forgiven. So it's each soul forgives their sins or they retain their sins based on how they treat others. So now, the fourth X-rated secret in longevity is we talk about God-goddess relationship. In a sexual experience, the whole purpose of a sexual relationship is to please the goddess. It's not to please the God. All right? When a female has a climaxes, she clears all her chakras and she stimulates the crown chakra.
Okay.
The male, by retaining erection, he stimulates his crown chakra. Okay.
Okay.
So if he cannot retain an erection, then he's not stimulating his crown chakra. This was given to me in one of my first visions in the ayahuasca, about how, because that was one of my questions when I went to Peru in 2000, is the purpose of Tantra and so forth. And they gave me this video in my mind's eye that was so crystal clear of the women, a naked woman on one side, the man on the other side. I mean, it was perfect graphics. And her crown chakra and her chakras was stimulated as long as he maintained an erection. And as long as he maintained the erection, then his crown chakra was stimulated and vibrating. So now, when the woman has a climax, she releases a fluid. That fluid is to be ingested by the male, okay?
Okay.
Orally, by stimulating her after she climaxes. That is a fluid from her, along with his fluid, the semen, that creates everlasting life in the male. All right? So his role is to please her, and by pleasing her, his reward is everlasting life.
That's fascinating. I've never heard that, but that is, I am anxious to learn more about everything we're talking about. And I would actually like to do another episode just around these topics, because I think this is super important. And like I said, this is not a podcast where I hold anything back, and I appreciate you not doing so either. So like I said, I would love to actually do another podcast entirely on this subject alone, if you're interested.
Of course.
That'd be great.
You know, my role is to share the teachings of the Golden Ones, to educate every soul and for their spiritual development. So, yeah, that fits in with my agenda.
It seems like you're doing it for all the right reasons then.
Yeah.
Cool.
That's why everything good comes to me, only because I share everything. I don't charge for anything. My website, the only thing on my website I charge for is it takes me time to do the astrology and numerology reports, and it takes a little time. So I charge for my time there, but all the teachings, they're absolutely free. And if someone wants to donate, they can donate. But my teachers take care of me. I'm not. I don't want people to spend money they don't have. All right, and so forth. So everything's teaching, and I don't want to deny anyone any information because they can't afford it.
That's fantastic. No, that's awesome, man. And what is your website exactly?
It's www.thepathtowoneness.com.
Awesome. And do you have anything on YouTube or any other?
Oh my God. On YouTube I have 150 videos. And it's if you go to Timothy Doyle the Golden Ones, you'll find the videos there. Plus they're on my website too. I have a very good webmaster that I was blessed with, and he just is phenomenal. And that's how he found you. He found you. I didn't find you. He takes care of my work. He does. I'm blessed to have him. Extremely knowledgeable, and he does what he does to promote the work. I considered him not my website, our website, because he does such a fantastic job in getting the work out to all souls. Very kind-hearted individual.
And what's his name?
Oh, my God. I only refer to him as Sid.
Well, thank you, Sid, for putting me in touch with Tim here.
I tell you, he does very, very well in promoting the work. He believes in the work. I believe in the work. And it works because it's true. It's true for every soul, every soul. This device I have, this thing here, he promotes hydrogen in the body. If you think about it, the body has to stay in a pH in an alkaline environment, and hydrogen and oxygen creates an alkalinity in the body. So this machine is a breathing machine that puts hydrogen into the body, which raises the alkalinity in the body. And so he gifted me with this machine and glasses, and he just gifted me with it. And so I use it because it helps to raise the alkalinity in my body. So
if it works,
yeah, it works. It works. And now the doctors are finding that what they're doing is when the coronavirus first came out, they were giving people pure oxygen, and they found that killed the people. Pure oxygen did. So they had to come up with a formula to give them oxygen and hydrogen together to assist them in their healing with the coronavirus. Now, that's not, well, of course, like anything else, you're not going to read about that any place in our media or in CNN or any place like that.
Oh, of course not. No. Nothing other than the narrative that they want you to hear.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yes, Justin, anytime you'd like to reschedule and you pick a subject, because the Golden Ones on anything, they can talk about anything.
Excellent.
Right?
Well, I look forward to it, man. And thank you again for your time. I know you had to get up super early in the morning to do this, and I'm sorry I was so late getting back to you. You know, life gets hectic at times, and sometimes we have to slow down, but I'm glad we were finally able to link up and have this conversation, and I look forward to our next one.
Well, I appreciate it, Justin. Thank you very much.
All right, man. Thanks.
Thanks again to Tim Doyle for being on the show. If you are interested in learning more about the Golden Ones or want to get in touch with Tim, he can be found at thepathtowoneness.com. Also, be sure to check out his YouTube channel, where he has plenty of videos explaining more about the Golden Ones. If you enjoyed this show, please remember to rate, review, and subscribe. As always, thank you for listening. This has been Dharma Junkie. I'm Justin Otto. Namaste.